everyone. This is Shelia Butler with Successful Women Talk, and we are most excited today. We have special guest April Bowles-Olin from blacksburgbell.com. She is going to share an amazing story with us. I can't wait to hear, and I can't wait for you all to hear the transition she made from where she was a few years ago to where she is today. She has an educational background in human development psychology and a master's in social work, and she's now doing a creative entrepreneurial business. So welcome, April.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
So I am very excited to have you here. I've been looking forward to this interview for quite some chat. I like to call it a chat. This chat for quite some time. But why don't we start with the question that I ask almost everyone, which is, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in your current business.
Okay. So when I was in college, I realized that at that point in time, I thought I was going to be a teacher. And I was doing student teaching, and I realized that I wanted to do more one-on-one work with the kids than I was able to do student teaching. So then I talked to a bunch of professors, and they said, you should get your master's degree in clinical social work and practice therapy. I thought, oh, that's exactly what I'm going to do with my life. This is fantastic. So I went to NYU and I got my master's degree in clinical social work, and I started working in a job that I didn't really love. And that was kind of difficult for a while, but I went searching for the job that I would love. So I found the job within social work that I thought, okay, this is it. Took me about a year to find, and I really, really loved it. But I came home every day drained. And as time went on, I felt more and more burnt out. And I was the type of person who, when I went to work and I saw these at-risk teens, they were my world, and I couldn't switch it off when I got home. And so that's something that you need to be able to do if you're going to be a successful therapist. And it was something that I just struggled with. So I started doing things on the side to kind of relieve some of that stress. So I started making jewelry, and I started scrapbooking, and I started painting and drawing and doing all of these things that really helped me kind of step away from the work when I was at home. And as I went along, I kept talking to my husband about, I don't know how long I can do this for. I feel stressed all the time, from the time that I wake up until the time I go to sleep. And he would say, you can't do this, especially if we have our own family. You're going to have no energy for anything else. And even though I have so much respect for people that can do that, it was just something that for me, it was not the best fit. So I was already doing this other creative stuff on the side. I thought, well, let me see what I can do with this. So I started writing and getting paid for writing, and just a bunch of freelance writing. And I was making jewelry, and then I started an Etsy store and started selling things that way. And then we were moving from New York back to Virginia, where we live now and where we're both from. And at that point, I had to make a decision. Was I going to go back into practicing therapy, or was I going to try this other path? And about 6 months before we moved, we decided that I was going to try to make my own business and build my own successful business and try and make a go of it. And so we planned financially for it, and we saved up, and we were ready for the move. And then I started selling jewelry full-time and doing that full-time. And people would ask me questions like, how did you set up an Etsy shop? How did you do this? How are you getting people to buy this? How do you market your products? And so I started answering more of those business questions. And that kind of developed into, this is what I really like to do. And I started reading everything I could get my hands on business-wise. And the thing that I love the most is the psychology behind marketing and business and all of that. That is something that I could read those kind of books on a Friday night and be so happy with a glass of wine and my business books. That's how I am. I'm thrilled. So it went from practicing therapy to doing this creative stuff on the side to helping other creative entrepreneurs build businesses to this is what I am finally doing.
That is a fantastic story. So let me ask you, were you always creative as a young person?
Yeah, I mean, I was. One of the things that I loved to do as a kid was teach other kids. I don't know. I was so weird. I mean, I would line up my stuffed animals and play teacher. That's one of the things I loved to do. And to write. I was always writing, always reading, and always playing teacher. And so even though I'm not a teacher right now, I feel like that's what I do with a lot of my courses and a lot of my products and services that I offer. So it's all kind of melded together. So all the pieces that I loved doing when I was young, reading, writing, and teaching, I do now. And so those are the things that have kind of followed me all the way through.
That's terrific. But, you know, if you think about it, you are still, you're doing more of adult education, but it's still a form of teaching and training. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting how you've brought all of those back together. You found your love. You've been able to meet that need for teaching and also being able to share and be happy and be able to, you know, spread that with your family as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So so you've always been a good writer, and you decided to start doing the Etsy store, and then you were developing the jewelry and stuff. And did you start writing about the same time? I think you created your blog like 2009. Was that at about that same time?
It was about maybe 4 months after I started the Etsy shop. So it wasn't right at the same time, but it was a little bit afterwards when I was getting a lot of questions from people, and I was answering a lot of questions in the forums on Etsy when other sellers would ask questions, oh, how do I do this? And how do I get more people looking at my shop? And I had already been blogging. So I hadn't been blogging as Blacksburg Belle. I had a wedding blog previous to Blacksburg Belle because I was planning my wedding and I was trying to keep track of all the ideas that I was coming upon. And I couldn't use them all. There were so many great ideas that I kept coming up with and DIY projects and things like that. So I started putting them in different posts, and that blog grew and grew and grew. So I had been blogging for about 3 years before I started Blacksburg Belle. I stopped the wedding blog after I got married and realized I don't want to blog about weddings anymore, but I already had that background. So I was helping other people with setting up their blogs and what they could write about and how to pull in their target market and all of that kind of stuff. And as I was learning new business techniques for my own shop, I was sharing them with other people.
That's terrific. So you kind of knew about blogging long before you did. Now, did any of that following that you had, was it mainly family, or you actually had a following at your wedding blog as well?
Yes, I built up a large following. I didn't think I would at first, but I had thousands of readers. I had paid advertising by the time that I stopped. About 6 months into it, I had people in the wedding industry, businesses, contacting me saying that they wanted to advertise on my site. I'd never thought that that was something that I would do when I started that blog. And I thought, well, all right, I'll get paid to blog. This sounds fantastic. Yeah, so that was hard to let go of because I did have a pretty large following and I was getting paid for it, but it wasn't something I could see myself doing long term.
Gotcha. So you had no thought of, okay, I can maybe juggle and do both of these. It just wasn't where your heart was.
No, yeah. And I'm the type of person who, if I can't commit to something 100% and I'm not really into it, then I've got to let it go.
Gotcha. Now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you also went through Marie Forleo's B School. Mm-hmm. So when did you do that?
I did that I think she offered it May, June of last year.
How big of an impact did that have on you and your business?
Oh, it had a really big impact. One of the things that was the best thing about B School was connecting with all of these other women who were growing their businesses and the support and encouragement and all of that. I loved B School. It was fantastic. It was a great experience.
Did you change your business much, your model after that, or did you already from the beginning have a kind of a plan of what you were going to do with your business model with Blacksburg Belle?
I did start to change things. One of the things I really looked at from B School was, where is the majority of money coming in from, and how can I do more of that? That's one of the things that right away in the first week I started to really think about, and how was I going to make this really successful so that it not only replaced my full-time income, but that it would be more than that.
Sure. And do you think that's in your e-courses? And you do a lot of different courses, and we'll talk about those in just a few minutes. Do you think most of that's from your training and education, offering those modules? Where the money's going to come from?
Comes from? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, do you? I don't remember. I don't think I saw any advertising on your blog. Do you currently do any advertising?
No.
Have any plans to do any advertising?
No. I learned from the wedding blog that I didn't want to go that route when I started something new. One of the main reasons was that I felt like I had to fit myself into the box of what those advertisers would want. And I had to blog in a certain way and write in a certain way, and I couldn't be fully me, or I was always second guessing, okay, would they like this? Or is that gonna be okay? Do they, so I was always questioning things, and I didn't want to do that again.
Now, that's great advice. And I think that's something important for people to understand, because I think some people think I can build a blog and tons of people are just going to come and find it, and the advertisers are going to flock to me to want to advertise it. And it doesn't happen that way. No. And like you said, there are some constraints once you get those advertisers in place.
Yes, definitely. And if you're blogging a certain amount, they expect you to continue that readership. They expect you to blog that same amount. So if they want you to blog 5 times a week because they want their ads being seen regularly. So there are lots of restrictions that can come into play.
And that's very interesting and great point. So I learned about you from Srinivas Rao with Blogcast FM. So I've listened to a couple of your interviews on his show. So let's talk about, you met him. Let's talk about how you met him, the impact that he's had on your business, and then some of the things that you've done after the consulting you did with him.
Sure. I love Srini. He is fantastic. So I had just launched Blacksburg Bell. It was within the first month, and he offered a contest for free consulting. And I thought, this would be fantastic. I want this free consulting. So I entered for it and won, and we did some consulting together, and he gave me some ideas on how I could grow my readership. And one of the ideas he gave me was to run a blog series with other bloggers in my niche that had some that had the same amount of readership, but some that had larger readerships. And so I did that, and I went from about 20 readers a day to 800 readers a day. And I told him about the experience, and he was excited. So he had me come on Blogcast FM and talk about that experience. And so that's how I found out about him and how we worked together.
That's interesting. So how did that whole blog series happen? You were new in the business, so I'm guessing that you probably didn't have a lot of contacts and connections. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. So did you just reach out?
Yes. I had no contacts. I had no connections. It was within the first month. I didn't know anybody personally. I hadn't been on social media. I just opened up a Facebook page, just opened up a Twitter account. It wasn't like I had been talking to these people or commenting on their blogs. They didn't know who I was. So I was a little bit nervous about reaching out to people and saying, hey, do you want to participate in this? But they said yes. And there was only one person who said no, and it was something to do with it just wasn't, she was too busy or something, it was scheduling conflict.
That's interesting. And I love that you said, I just reached out. Sometimes I think people, especially women, I think we're a little bit afraid to toot our own horns. We're a little bit afraid to reach out. We think there's that long process of developing the relationship. And I think all that's important, but we're so fearful sometimes that we don't start. And you just started. I love that.
Especially because the consulting session was free, and I thought, I'm going to take full advantage of this. I'm going to put it into action. Even though this is really scary and makes me nervous, I don't care. I'm going to try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That what's the worst that could happen?
I love that. Why not? I don't, and if it would have failed, so it's not a failure unless you stop. You learned something from that. I mean, you learned something great from it, but had it not, my guess is based on your personality, you would have figured out what to do differently the next time and continue to move on.
Right. Yes.
So let's talk about where all you've gone with your business, because you have like Entrepreneur, you have roadmaps. Let's talk about some of the courses that you offer now.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I have a membership site, which is Entrepreneur, and that is a monthly membership. It's 6 months, and I tried to put all of the resources somebody would need if they were a creative entrepreneur, mainly products-based, that they could succeed. And so I pulled in other people who are experts at things that I'm not an expert at, a professional photographer and a web designer, and Mai from Heart Made, who is amazing with online shops. And so I pulled together a team of people who could provide all of this information that anyone would need, the technical stuff, the design stuff, the photography stuff, the marketing stuff, and put it all together. And that has been my main big offering. And I offered that in January, and that ends at the end of July. That's over. But throughout that Entrepreneur membership, I also have courses that everybody in that membership had access to, and then other people could also sign up for. So roadmap and blogging for your creative business and things like that, they're all in, and then other people can sign up for those.
Terrific. So let me ask, so how many people signed up?
Oh gosh.
I mean, you don't have to give me exact, but ballpark.
An Entrepreneur, I think there's about 75 people, I want to say, around that. Maybe less. Maybe I'm maybe I'm not remembering that. Maybe it's 50 people, somewhere.
Great. And how did you find those people? So how did you go and market that? Because I know you had your blog was successful. You post. How many times do you post a week?
Right now I post once a week. When I first started out, I was trying to post anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week, but that was only for the first couple months so that I could build up a collection of content.
Sure. Now, okay, so how did you market your Entrepreneur, and how'd you find your customers, your clients?
It's all in the list, all in my email newsletter. That's where 95% of my sales come from.
The list from your website?
Yeah, my email newsletter list. Yeah, that's where the majority of all of my sales come from, is from that. And I built that through providing free content on my blog, but also through doing a lot of interviews and a lot of guest posts. You
did some interviewing and guest posting yourself.
Yes.
Gotcha. Now let's talk about, so you said, and I love it, we're not all experts in everything, and I think that's a wonderful thing to admit what we do know and what we don't. And I love that you said you brought in some experts in the things that you weren't as strong in. How did you find those people? And are you guys doing a profit sharing on the courses, or are they just doing it out of kindness, or how does that work?
I found Mai because we did the blog series together. And then from there, I asked different people that I trusted. Do you know anybody who is good at web design? Do you know any professional photographers? Then I also put something up on my blog saying, hey, I'm looking for these types of experts. If you're in this field, email me, let me know, and I'll get back to you, and we'll set some kind of Skype talk up, or, and figure it out whether it would be a good fit or not. And I didn't know who I was going to pull on board for photography, but I had a bunch of people who emailed me interested in it. And I do actually pay them for each thing that they provide. So it depends on, each one of them provides different things. The photographer now provides one monthly tutorial called Get That Shot, and how to get that shot. And so she'll set up a photography, tutorial where she shows exactly how to get the shot step by step, and shows pictures and written text and things like that. But yeah, so I definitely wanted to pay everybody who contributed to
Sure.
Entrepreneur.
And it's more valuable to you and it's more valuable to them as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, do you do this? Do you do Blackbird's Bell with your mother-in-law, or is it just you?
We used to do it together. That was when it was more the jewelry and art and that kind of stuff. But now it's mainly just me.
I see. And how do you keep up? Because you're a busy young lady. You have a husband, a couple of puppies. You guys have some animals. I don't think you have kiddos yet. That'll really throw your life into a spin. But what is your blogging schedule? How do you keep up? You have a lot of courses. You have your membership site. So give us an idea of your average day, or how do you blog and schedule all of those things in?
Sure. Well, I do one post a week, and it's a video post. But I tape them in a chunk together. And I pick one day, it's usually a Sunday, because my husband helps me tape those posts, actually. So he needs to be home for them. So usually it's one Sunday, maybe every 6 or 8 weeks, that I get all of the videos done for, 6 or 8 weeks at a time. And then I have to go in and edit them and, add some text and things like that. But that's maybe an additional hour on top of that one day. So the blogging piece isn't that time consuming. So it gives me a lot of time to put in towards courses and products and the offerings that I do. I don't know how, but I'm really good at being my own boss. My husband always says, I don't know how you're so productive, and I don't know how you get it all done, but I would not be able to do it. He says, I would be at home and wanting to play video games or something, and I don't know. I love it so much that it doesn't feel like work, and it's so much fun, and I have a priority list every day of what I want to get done, and I keep it very small. I keep it to 3 to 5 items on my to-do list. And that's so that I don't think, okay, what should I do next? What should I do next? And waste a bunch of time trying to figure out what to get done. And I plan things like this interview and guest posts and things like that around my schedule. So if I don't have the time for it, I don't try to shove things in. I'll say, well, I'd love to do this, but I can't do it until this time.
That's terrific. You've learned how to say no.
Yes.
That's good. Sometimes that's hard to do.
Yes.
So do you still do a lot of guest posting?
I haven't recently. I want to keep doing it. I love guest posting, actually, and it was one of the best ways that I built up my readership. I guest post on Maya's blog almost once a month. And then other than that, I guest post every once in a while. There was one month when I first started out that I wrote 18 guest posts in 1 month. So some months I write tons of guest posts and some months I don't. It just depends on what I've got going on.
I see. So what do you say to the person out there that says, I was a terrible student and I want to start a business, but I want to start a blog, but I'm a terrible writer. So what type of advice would you give to that kind of person? Because I think there are still ways to build content, but I'd like to hear your point of view on that.
Mm-hmm. Well, first, I think saying that I'm not a good writer is a bad excuse for not starting a business. And it's a skill, just like anything else. To get better at it, you have to practice it. And so if that's what's holding you back, daily practice, even 20 or 30 minutes of writing each day can help you improve. Because no matter what, you're going to have to write some copy. Blog post titles, summaries of interviews or videos. You can definitely make the focus of your content something that isn't written text. You can do videos. You can do interviews and podcasts. You could do mainly visuals, depending on what your strengths are. But you are going to have to do some type of writing. There is going to be that piece, unless you're going to hire a copywriter and you're going to have lots of money to be able to do that. So there are only a couple of choices and only a couple of ways to go there.
I agree. And you know what? I think if you listen to Srini, you listen to a lot of people, probably yourself, your stuff that you wrote in the beginning is not as great as your stuff that you write now. But like you said, it is a skill. And it's something you develop. Okay, so let's talk about the technologies you use for your business. So I'm sure when you first started out, you weren't a WordPress or weren't a website expert. So tell us about the technologies that you currently use.
Okay. First of all, I hate technology. So I'm not I'm not a technical expert. When something goes wrong technically, it makes me freak out because I don't know how to fix it. So I am not big on technology. However, I have managed to learn what I need to learn. I use WordPress. I have a theme that I can customize, which is Canvas by Woo Themes. I use a flip cam to record videos for my site, and I just got this professional lighting kit off of Amazon for those. And I use, let's see, what else do I use? I don't use that much. I mean, I use iMovie and I use Adobe Premiere Pro to edit some of my videos. And I use Wishlist Member, which is a plugin that I use for all of my membership sites. Those are all the basic things that I use.
And all relatively, I mean, yes, there's probably a learning curve, but it's not something that, like you said with writing, it's not something that should keep you out of business. It's something that can easily be picked up and learned. I didn't know anything about WordPress until about 2 years ago, and it's really pretty user-friendly.
Yes. At first it might seem like another language, but after you use it for a few months, you get into a rhythm. You figure it out.
Exactly. Now, I love your videos. I think they're cute. You always have a nice, fun background. I like that you joke. You and your husband kind of joke back and forth. I think that's all kind of fun. I think I saw one of your blooper videos one time. It was great. But, okay, so, some people say, okay, I don't write. That kind of scares me. But, okay, I can get over that because April, she helped me understand that it's not an excuse. Just do it. How do you get over the fear of being on camera?
That's a tough one. I think you have to just put yourself in that situation and not put pressure on yourself and just keep taping until you feel comfortable. And if you don't feel comfortable, then don't use video because it's very obvious when you're not comfortable with video and it makes everybody feel awkward. Nobody's comfortable at first. Nobody is like, oh yeah, look at me on video. Usually that's not what happens. I mean, I still look at myself. There are plenty of times and I'm thinking, what is that funny face that you're making? Why is your lip doing that weird thing? Why do your eyes look like that? So there are plenty of times where I look at my videos and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this does not look good. But nobody else sees that. They don't see that part of it. So just trying it and trying it over and over and over again until you're just talking like you're talking to somebody, like a friend. Once you get into that rhythm, it's a lot more comfortable, but it can be difficult looking at yourself on video.
It just takes time.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So let me ask you, if someone said to you, April, what advice would you give to a young woman or any woman out there that's thinking about starting a business? They're not exactly sure what they want to do, but what general ideas and tips would you give someone? To experiment and to play and to have fun and figure out what you want to do. You don't have to know exactly what you want to do right away. I recently had somebody contact me and they said, well, I want to start a blog, but I don't know exactly what I want my business to be. I have a couple different ideas and I kind of just want to figure it out, but can I start a blog and talk about these different topics and feel out what I like? Of course. That's fantastic. Just starting with something, whether that is learning something new and putting that into action or starting a blog and building up a little bit of a readership while you're trying to find your footing and figure out what you want to do. But give yourself room to figure out what you want to do, and you will figure it out. But sometimes it takes a lot of time. For me, it took going from blogging about weddings to making jewelry and art to helping other women build creative businesses. It wasn't this, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do. It took some time. That's great. And it does. And just trying. And you weren't afraid to try. I think the fear of sometimes just stepping out there. And online's a big world. And yes, some of your friends may see it and go, oh, that's kind of strange. But just do it, because I think you will find your footing. You will find your voice. And you can. I think the advice is the big purpose I like in the show is that you can. I think everybody has some skill sets, some gifts in there. Like, you never thought you would be developing jewelry and then turning that into adult education and teaching other people how to start businesses. That probably was never in your career path.
No.
But look where you are today because you tried.
Yes.
That's terrific.
and allowed myself to say, hey, this isn't working, and taking what I've learned from that and then pulling it into something new. When I decided to stop blogging about weddings, it was a little bit scary because I knew I'd be starting from scratch all over again, but I also needed to give myself that room to grow and to move into something that I really wanted to be doing.
So let's talk real quickly social media, social networking. What impact has that had on your business?
I love Twitter. So I love social media because it's a really easy way to get to know people. And especially if you are a little bit shy, a lot of people will tell me, well, I'm a little bit shy, talking to people face to face. Well, being on Facebook and being on Twitter can give you that avenue where it's not as scary, in-person, one-on-one kind of conversations. It's also really easy. With Twitter, you only have 140 characters, so it's not like you're going to be on there. I guess you could be on there typing up your life story, but really, you're not going to be. So it's an easy way to build your business. It's been one of the best ways that I have made connections with people. I've met so many people, especially via Twitter, and taken those relationships off of Twitter through emailing each other or talking on Skype, those types of things. Even meeting in person is going as far as meeting in person, but a lot of those relationships and collaborations that I've had have started on social media.
That's terrific. Now, do you participate in any masterminds? Like, are you in any type of mastermind group yourself?
I'm not.
I'm not either. I keep saying I'm going to start one because I think it's so important to have mentors and even people not directly in your industry, maybe a little different. I just think it's really important to be able to share. It's just finding time. Finding time.
Yes. I do have a girls' night every once in a while with a couple of girls that are a couple of ladies who are in my niche. And we chat, we chat via the Google chat or I don't know, whatever it is, but because I'm not technically savvy, so I don't know exactly. I didn't set it up. Somebody else set it up. But we chat with our videos and we have a glass of wine and we talk about what's going on in our businesses. So I think that that's so important to have relationships with other people who know what it's like to be doing what you do, because lots of people don't get it. My husband is a lawyer and he gets it because he's been around me for this long, but like his boss and his coworkers don't necessarily get it.
That is so true. Yeah, they're like, so you'll tell people when you start blogging, it may be 6 months or a year before anybody finds you. Then people are like, well, why would you do that? I don't understand. Who are you talking to?
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So if people wanted to hook up with you, where would be the best place to find you?
Probably Twitter. I try to respond to everybody who talks to me on Twitter. I don't always do it, especially if I'm on vacation or sick that day or, but I really try to make those connections. And it's just an easy way to chat with people. Or my Facebook page or blacksburgbell.com. And you can find where you can email me there as well. And I try to respond to all my emails as well.
Perfect. We will link up your site, your Twitter, Facebook, your courses. Anything special that you want to talk about, anything you want to plug, anything new coming out that everybody needs to know about, or just continue where you are?
I have some secret plans that are coming up. Actually, I am so excited. I'm traveling to Panama for Mai from Heartmade and I. We are working on this big secret new project. And we have raised all the funds that we need to do it. We're getting professional video and professional photography, and we're getting our website customized. And I am flying there for 10 days with my husband, and we're going to be doing all of this work together. So there is something really big coming up, but it's all in those secret stages.
Terrific. Well, when it does come out, we will link that up. We are going to have her on the show in a couple of weeks as well, and I can't wait. I think you two are fascinating. I love the young energy. I love young women not being afraid to step out, start a business. Now, I didn't ask this earlier. Were your parents entrepreneurs?
My mom always had side businesses as I was growing up. I mean, she made For instance, for years she sold flags that she made. That was big where I lived in the suburbs. Everybody had flags on their porch and their mailboxes. So she sold those at craft shows, and then she got all of this slate. I don't even know where she got it from, but thousands of pieces of slate, and she turned it into art. She stenciled on them and she sold those. So ever since I can remember, she always had some kind of side business going on. So she has some entrepreneur in her.
I see. That's interesting. Well, April, this has been a pleasure. I can't wait to share this interview with the community. We're going to link everything up, and when you get your new secret project out, let me know. We'll link it up as well. I am most excited for you. Very excited for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, and have a terrific day.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.